We're starting.
Does he have velvet driving slippers?
I don't know. That is a question for Julian Nagelsmann. We'll have to catch up with him in just a little bit.
Wait,
but
just throw it out there, Jesus.
Anyway,
carry on.
Yeah, so it is a special day with Jared on camera because that means it is time to talk about one of the coolest kits that is out there. And our friends from the Marshall Islands released it this morning. So, of course, Matt Webb, who is in charge of everything when it comes to marketing and sponsorship for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, and the technical director, Lloyd Owers, hanging out with us. See, they're on the other side of the Atlantic. So for them, this is like early afternoon. They've had lunch. They're getting ready for the rest of their day. But what Matt decided to do was style and profile.
I told you, John, we're not special. We're not special enough to have one of these. It's only Matt. He's
on a need-to-know basis.
He's keeping it to himself.
And we don't need to know. I see how this works. So it's Matt and it's Lloyd, our friends from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. And that 9 o'clock this morning, Greenwich Mean Time, which meant 4 o'clock when we were all asleep, they unleashed the kit. Their friends at Player Layer, videos out all over the place. And here is one of the official stills that I'm going to block all of our faces with right there, or at least portions of it. That's pretty sweet. And, it is out. It is hyped. It is a pre-order. And from what I understand, short of everybody other than Matt, we all get them in November. Yeah, you're not going to. Oh, and Matt, I heard that there's another piece of clothing that is a part of this special reveal this morning. Is that correct?
Come on.
I don't know if you're ready for this, but,
the bucket hats are in force.
The sunshine's gone in the UK, but there's still always a need for a bucket hat. But
it's all right. It's festival season's finished, but it's in prep for next year.
See,
exactly.
And so now Matt has to wear the bucket hat for the remainder of the season.
Hey, reversible as well. Don't let me forget.
Oh, reversible. I was not aware.
This side's better. This side's better.
You're feeling a bit. You want to play it cool, right? You don't want to go all out.
That is very, very cool. So, Matt, let me start with you. And the question that sideline reporters around the world get panned for every single time that we ask it to coaches and folks of import, how does it feel to have that out?
This has been, and Lloyd, we've both been sick and tired. We have been planning this for months on end. I think we started this project back in December. So what are we, 9 or 10 months deep almost. Yeah. And from month one, we knew we wanted to do a jersey. Obviously, it's a big deal. You only get your first time once. So we wanted to make sure we absolutely nailed this, and looking at kind of what the finished product is. I don't know what your opinion is, what your hot take is, but we absolutely love it. I think it's unique. It represents the Marshall Islands really, really well, which is our kind of primary objective. And yeah, it's a lot of late nights, early mornings and hard work. And we're happy that it's fine, that people can finally see it and get their hands on one soon as well.
Garrett, go for it.
And how did that timeline feel for you? Because we talk all the time about in the world of sports, the timelines are so different than what we think of. 6 months is a long time out, but in the world of sports, 6 months is nothing. So, and was the entire timeline for y'all getting the idea from concept to really today?
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, and it's actually my first time doing this for Lloyd as well. Like, it's our first time ever releasing a jersey. Luckily, we had the good folk at Player there to kind of help us and hold our hands through the process. But like you alluded to, it goes very, very quickly. We ran a public competition. So the design of this jersey is actually thanks to an Argentinian designer, Mikel Altamirano. He's done like a sterling job with that. But even that process, that took 6 weeks to get collate all the designs. And then you've got to send it off to the factory, get some final designs, tweaks, receive a sample, check everything. And then, so 6 months is gone in an absolute flash. And it's been a learning curve. And like you said, it goes kind of quick.
All right. So 5-way dance. It is a fatal 5-way. Nick Delisi is charged in this
Nick's
morning.
joined as well.
So Nick, what's your first question for Lloyd?
First of all, the main question here is the kits, the hat, all of it. I need to know how I can get a box of it sent to my house immediately. Because this is exceptional. That's all I'm saying.
It's dope, is what the kids are saying.
Word on the street.
Word on the street. No, honestly, like Matt said, it's amazing to actually be part of this. And I think, I've used the words humble about 500 times now, but it really is a humbling feeling. How many times can you be part of the first ever national jersey for any sport? But it's very, very surreal in the sense of it's finally here. The public vote was, I want to say, April. So you're thinking, 5 months on, we're finally here. It's ready to go, and the reception to it is amazing. So
I think naturally,
continue, I guess.
Yeah, Lloyd, I think we're quite similar. We're quite impatient. So when we wanted to release it, we wanted to do it like right away. Like,
I wanted it to come out the next day. Yeah, exactly.
So we've had to bite our tongue and wait, and we're so delighted it's finally here and kind of unleash it on the world.
and we thank you for unleashing it on the world through SDH. It has been posted in our Twitch pitch, in our conversation with all of our viewers and listeners about where you can grab the dope jersey and dope bucket list. But I mean, Lloyd, when you look at this, I know that you guys are all, you're impatient. You want things to happen, obviously, in a certain timetable and things like that. But, as things go forward here, I mean, it's another step in this process. You've got games going on the island with futsal from a coaching perspective. What's it like from a personnel perspective to add this to the dossier that's going on with the Marshall Islands?
It's just another string to the bow, and it's another tool in terms of what we want to be able to do long term. We've got plans that are far beyond exceeding just rollout of a national jersey, but it's a massive instrumental part of that whole journey, because now it's real. We have something to base it on. This is an identity with the colours, with the everything towards it, the cultural issues towards it, and the tribal feels, and to have that connection to the islands even further is amazing. But like you said, in terms of the actual rollout of technically now as well, I think I was on here maybe 2-3 weeks ago, so I'm probably going to bore people now with listening to me talk about it again. But it's even developed further since that chat, because the futsal league is in full swing. We've had 4 or 5 rounds in now, as well as that Saturday fixture list. We have Wednesday sessions now taking place for adults. And we're starting to collate more of a list now of 10 to 12 of the better, the stronger players from that league. Because obviously, I think we touched on last time, next summer we have the tournament and it's going to be either in Kiribati or the Solomon Islands. But it's going to be the first real outing for a national team for the Marshall Islands. And that's what the whole draw of this story was. So now that we're actually having that in place and we've got players that are starting to build towards that goal, it's very, very real. So it's amazing to see that all coming together now.
Jared, go for it.
Yeah, we talk a lot of here, especially in the United States, with the sport, with the rising tide lifting all boats. When we do something well, and we hope it helps others. How has it been in around the South Pacific about what you've been able to do in a way to help elevate other federations that are trying to get their start as well?
I guess if you backdate it, we're actually the ones that are massively behind, because obviously the initial story was the last nation on earth without a national team. But it wasn't just the national team. It was like the last nation on earth without soccer. So there are some nations that are playing against us next summer that are probably they're idle at the moment, but they have been active in the past. And seeing what we've been doing in the Marshall Islands has reignited that passion. So, for example, next summer, we're confirmed. FSM, the Federated States of Micronesia, are confirmed. We've got Kiribati involved as well. But then you've got the other nations like Nui. I think Nui potentially might be a little bit harder, but Nui, Tuvalu, are obviously part of OFC. Who else is there? I'm thinking of Palau. Yeah, another inactive nation, but wanting to restart again. So it's reignited that passion for the game. And I think if you can do it with very little resources in one country, there's almost like a blueprint then to be able to do it somewhere else. And I think that's the inspiration that people needed. Like, we haven't got the excuse. We can actually do this. And that's the reason behind having the tournament next year, so that we can then bring everyone together and reignite that passion collectively as well.
All right. So now it's officially a 3.
Ah, there he is. Justin has joined.
Justin Walley, the press and communications director for the Fed. So it is now officially a 3v3 segment.
We're getting towards futsal here.
Yeah.
The team is right.
We need to
So it's all right. So let me run through traffic here. It's me, Jarrett, and Nick on the SDH side. It is Lloyd Owers, technical director of the Marshall Islands Soccer Fed. It is Matt Webb, who is Director of Marketing and Sponsorship for the Marshall Islands Soccer Fed. Justin Walley is now joining us. Justin is Press and Comms Director for the Marshall Islands. It is a 3v3 tournament, guys.
Let's throw it down.
So, Justin, let me ask you, and then Nick can come in and ask a question. Justin, what's it like to see all this stuff finally come to the fore? The promo, the jersey, Matt wearing the reversible bucket hat and not sharing with the rest of us. What's it like?
I'm very jealous of Matt there with the
You ain't
gear.
the only one, brother.
Very jealous. It's been a very exciting day. Just seeing the response, it's absolutely fantastic. Putting all the visuals out, just reaction from all over the world. You know, there's people. We get used to people replying just in English language on stuff like Twitter, but there's so many Spanish. I'm having to get the Google Translate out to see what people are saying. But it's fantastic. It's it's one of those things. It's been months and months and months, and sometimes you think have we overcooked this? Have we waited too long? But
Sport really does unite the world.
Yeah.
All right, Nick Alifi, pick your 1v1 matchup. Go for it.
Well, I'm going to have to circle up with Lloyd here. So, when you think about the building blocks, the foundation of anything, right? I mean, the name is carved in stone from then forward, right? Whether it goes well, whether it goes poorly, the names, Lloyd, Matt, Justin, your names are carved into this, right? From the get-go. Can you talk a little bit maybe about if there is any pressure in working with that and having your names attached to it?
I think, firstly, cheers. Thanks for picking me out for the 1v1 battle. So I've got to try to win it now. But I think if you date it back to when we first started, it was, there wasn't much around it. It was the Marshall Islands and 3 people in the UK. And then all of a sudden, it absolutely boomed, literally overnight. We had thousands of lots of interest straight away. So then it became a little bit more apparent, like actually people care, people want to actually be a part of this. And then when you start to realize, there's a kit competition, people want to actually design stuff, then it grows even more. And now it's to the point where people are asking us, when's your first game? Who are you going to play? Where is it going to be? When's it going to be? Are there any players? And we've had one. Justin was putting out the messages onto Twitter with the league updates. And there was a guy a couple of weeks ago who scored like 9 goals in one game. And then people are saying, he's like the Messi of Marshall Islands. And it's stuff. It's like, okay. But those messages go so far. And like Justin said, we're getting people from like Uruguay. We've got people from Brazil. We've got people from all around like Eastern Europe that are taking an interest in this. And then that becomes that pressure then grows. And you start to think, yeah, all right, we've got to do this really well. We can't just actually coast by now. We've actually got to make sure that this is going to be worthy of our time, but also we come out of this with a good reputation as well. Because if we put our names to something that is going to be so big, we've got to make sure we do it right. And we are on that track. We want to make it right. We want to do it really well. We want to be, Confederation members, FIFA members, ultimately long term. And to do that, we have to get it right. So if we get it right now, it gives us half a chance to be more successful down the line. But yeah, it does bring pressure, and it's part of the fun, right?
Jared,
part of the fun.
I'm just going to throw this out.
Gents, on this topic, I've just had a message. I have purchased from Japan.
Here we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
I can hit you with some cold hard facts if you want. Maybe we can get a country leaderboard going. But we've had orders from obviously Japan. The States, I think, are leading so far, followed by UK, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Israel. So yeah, we're going worldwide.
No, we've got a listener at least from Canada at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't know if they've purchased a shirt. I'll have to get onto that to make sure you're buying one.
Our resident Australia viewer / listener has already purchased, and we've got listeners of the show and viewers of the show who've already purchased. So yeah, you've already got the SDH bump that's attached to it. So Jared, go for it.
I'm just going to throw this out there for anyone who wants to jump on it. It honestly is what's been the growth. I mean, I know you talked about building out the futsal league in the Marshall Islands, but what's been the growth even in the last 6 months in terms of excitement? I mean, I'm sure there were people in the islands who were excited about getting a federation, getting everything off the ground, but then to see it become
So I
something
lost my sound,
tangible.
or was that everyone?
Oh yeah, who was that aimed at? Sorry.
I can't hear anything.
I guess for you, Lloyd, because it's on the technical side. But I mean, like, what's been kind of the rise in excitement from just the people around the Marshall Islands who maybe like heard this was going to happen, but then to see it become a real thing, what's been their reaction?
Yeah, I think it was one of the things where people actually thought, people have reached out to us before, and because they have, people have messaged the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation on Facebook, on the Facebook pages and all sorts for a good while, but nothing's really ever happened. So I think initially it was taken with a pinch of salt and, these guys, they want to help. But then when we actually started to put together plans of what we can do, and it was received and we would say, given the license to try it, and we actually delivered it, they were then, oh, okay, this is happening. But then I think even there was still a bit of a disbelief that we would go out there and actually deliver sessions. So then when that trip was booked and I went out to the Marshall Islands, people were coming up to me and saying, thank you for doing this. And it was like that instant feeling of gratitude from that part, but also the gratitude from my part where you're letting me into your country to help. Like, this is amazing. But I remember one time, I can't remember if I mentioned it on the call last time, I was literally in the supermarket waiting to buy some bits. And a guy turned around and was like, are you Owers? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I saw you in the newspaper. Like, oh, okay, fair enough. And he shook my hand, turned around, paid for his stuff and walked off. And it's just like, oh, this is weird. This is odd. But there's that everyone knows you and everyone's grateful. But the fact that the government, for example, have signed off that soccer can be put onto the national curriculum for schools is huge, because kids now grow up playing the game. And it's a game where there's the co-op school in Majuro, where it's basically an American school predominantly. And it was played by kids in that school, but very informally, like 2 balls and that was it. Whereas now every school's going to have that same opportunity. So that's massive. So it's I think it's now a realization of this is happening. What's next? And keep us coming, keep drip feeding lots of different things in.
Okay, Matt. So since Lloyd and Justin have done the 1v1s this way, so it's you and me for this 1v1 here.
Let's go.
So what's next?
Come on, Matt.
You've mentioned the rundown of who has ducked in this morning, and it is a very, very cool list of folks who have ducked in to support and show their support for the Marshall Islands and everything. And let me ask it this way: when it comes to making sure that the relationship with Player Layer was the right one, when you were looking for that right partner, when it came to implementation, distribution, all of the right channels to make sure that everything is going the way that you were looking for, when it comes to outlay, distribution, all those kinds of things that are behind the scenes that no one else gets to find out about. What was it like getting this relationship and finding that right partner?
So we discovered Player Layer. I think, I've known about Player Layer for a while. So they're pretty big in the university sports scene in the UK. They actually supplied the most I think it's fair to say, the most eco-friendly club in the United Kingdom, which is Forest Green Rovers, maybe in the world. So I was already aware of their kind of credentials. And we wanted to find somebody who's the right size. So not too big where we're kind of an afterthought, they don't really care. And not too small where they can't kind of support us, because we have got big ambitions and we want to deliver some big projects. So it was a speculative email I sent out to kind of Rod Bradley, who's the co-founder of Player Layer, back in, it must have been maybe January. So quite early on in the project. Jumped on a call, and I think the first thing that really struck all of us speaking with him is how passionate he kind of got about our project and really excited straight away. And we knew from then it was going to be a good match. So he has personally invested a lot of time. The Player Layer themselves aren't making much from this project at all. They've given a lot of time and resource to help us with this, because ultimately this jersey, whilst it looks nice, it's a nice accessory and hopefully a must-have, it's actually here to raise money as well and help us deliver our goals. So that's why we're going to be pushing it. We want people to kind of buy into it as well. So ultimately, the more we sell, the more Lloyd can do, the more we can do to get more people playing soccer in the Marshall Islands. So, and just going back to that relationship with Player Layer, we have to be careful with any kind of partnership we build. Marshall Islands, as you know, like the more you learn and read about Marshall Islands, about the threat of climate change, which threatens their very existence, we can't be partnering with kind of any particular organisation. So Player ticked a box with what we were looking for in terms of they are eco-conscious as well. So this jersey is made out of recycled materials, and I know it's kind of a bit of a fallacy, but as best as we can, we want to be responsible as well. So that was also kind of a big consideration for us. So kind of everything ticked the boxes. We've got a great working relationship with them. Hopefully, and like I said, what's next? I'm already thinking about the second jersey. That's coming out soon as well. Like, we wanted to keep the ball rolling, keep momentum going. That roll call of countries, that's so important to us. Like, we want to spread the message of why people should care about Marshall Islands. And soccer is just that medium which gets people talking, because there's a bigger picture as well. And if we can get more people aware, then we're doing our job as well, let alone what's going on the field.
All right, one final round of 1v1s. Nick, pick your partner.
All right, Justin, are we live and loud? Can we hear Justin now? All right, so we can hear you as well.
Yeah, great.
All right, so building off of what Matt just talked about, the story of the Marshall Islands, right? Where you had obviously tremendous issues with nuclear testing, tremendous issues with climate change. The messaging of the Marshall Islands it's a difficult task because the story of the Marshall Islands is so long and there's so much intertwined with it geopolitically. I mean, everything, sports now. From a messaging perspective, can you talk to us a little bit about how you craft the messaging strategy for the Marshall Islands, how you from the marketing standpoint, how you reach out, how you tell this story, because it is a long, complex story for the Marshall Islands, is it not?
I think sometimes you've got to lead people in the direction of the story and let them find out a lot about the story themselves. And I was working with Matabeleland in the past, and there's a shocking story involved with that, with genocide, and we didn't always want to be discussing that. But what we did was that when people start to do their Google searches and start to read, look on Google Maps or what have you, and try to work out where this place is, what it's about, it points people in that direction naturally. So sometimes, the messaging is on point about that particular topic of climate change. Sometimes it's just talking about football, or it's talking about the people, it's talking about the beautiful place. And it's getting people it's creating the awareness and getting people to have an interest in that place and in those people. I feel now, it's like Lloyd was talking about. Suddenly you mention a guy scoring 9 goals and people are interested in a team that's been created out of nothing. They're saying, can we start to help with the branding of that team, and where is that team, and where do they live, and that sort of thing. And so I think the storytelling, you allow people to also discover for themselves a lot of things.
Jarrett, your turn. One last round.
All right, one last round for Lloyd as well, just because this has to do with geography at this point. Because it's a series of islands. I mean, has it been tricky for you guys getting really land that can be used, getting space that can be used for the development, especially on the youth side?
Yeah, it's tough in the sense of, excuse me, it's tough in the sense of the two main islands are Majuro and Kwajalein. Kwajalein hosts the US US military base. And to enter the island, regardless of who you are, you need military clearance from the US. So that would obviously pose problems anyway. Ebai is a very, very 5-minute short boat ride across to Kwajalein. Those guys can access it, but the pool of players is still limited. And the guys that play in Kwajalein are predominantly US soldiers. But in terms of Majuro, we have futsal taking place in 3 locations, 2 regularly, 1 as the alternative backup venue. There is the National Stadium, which is the 11-a-side version, which is going to be open. It was meant to be July this year, but now it's going to be July 24. But that's going to be great because it also hosts athletics as well as soccer and baseball. So that's going to be a multi-purpose venue. But in terms of our other islands, it really is going to be very difficult because they're either very small or very cramped, so it's still small. So it'd be very difficult to house that soccer anywhere else, and that's something that we have to look at long term. I think the short-term plan for us is building it on Majuro to the point that everyone on Majuro has an opportunity to play. Because at the moment, it's almost at one end of the island or slightly in the middle of the island. The south version of the area of the island doesn't really have it at the moment unless they travel up for the kids or adult sessions. So the aim over time is to increase the participation levels in those places first. Then we can worry about Kwajalein and combining the players, the Marshallese guys that do have the opportunity to play there. And then if we get the opportunity to, then we'll start to see what we can do longer term in the other islands. But it is going to be a bit of a battle. But also, I think one of the things I've spoken to Nick and John about is the amount of players that are playing in the US. So we don't just need to focus on those players actually in the Marshall Islands themselves. We need to focus also on any Marshallese player, descendant who wants to play, regardless of where they are. And in the US, for example, there's a massive pool in Arkansas. There's a massive pool in or dotted all around the place. But it's a case of then giving those guys the opportunity as well to be part of it. So, for example, next summer, if we can get one or two of those US-based players to be in the squad for the tournament, that would be amazing. But yeah, it's finding those opportunities for Marshallese players, regardless of where they are. Really, that's the biggest battle.
All right, and so that leaves me with my 1v1 with Matt. And since it's the last question of the segment, it is the easiest question of the entire segment. Cut the promo. Let everybody know, A, where they can get the jersey, where they can follow you guys on the social medias, whether it's you on the 280 character app, Lloyd or Justin, or lay it all out for everybody, because once again, rising tide lifts all boats, and we want to make sure that this particular tide turns into just a massive wave of support. Go for it.
Well, let's go. I think first and foremost, let's get the buck hat reversed.
There you go.
Let's get this party started. But head to our website, all joking aside, rmi.soccer. We've made it as short and sweet as possible, rmi.soccer. And on there, you'll find links to the shop. So we've got a microsite set up for the store, and then all the links to our socials as well. So it's RMI Soccer on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're trying to get TikTok going. I'm still learning. We're not quite there yet.
You've got to wear that outfit once you get TikTok squared away, sir. You know how this works. You've got to cut the video.
Exactly. So that's coming soon. That's pending. You can track us a follow on there, and we'll surprise you with some content one day. But those are our main platforms, RMI Soccer. And obviously, Lloyd and Justin are well worth a follow on Twitter for their expert views. And
don't know about that.
And then on the 280 character app for Matt, it is WorldWid3 Web. It's not World Wide Web. The E in wide is a 3, so it's basically WorldWid3 Web on the 280 character app.
Couldn't just go with his name, could he?
Off when you read it back.
No, just go with Lloyd Owers or Justin Walley. So much easier, Matt.
But guys, thanks for hopping on, especially at 2:00 in the afternoon over there in England, and breaking everything down. The kit is awesome. And our Australia viewer listener says that you guys will walk into the World Cup, that you can easily win Oceania, and they can't wait for you to win the OFC.
Did see that, yep.
Make it to the World Cup. Justin, Lloyd, Matt, as always, thanks for coming on with us for the updates. We know we'll have you back sooner rather than later. It's dope stuff.
No, cheers for having us, guys. Thank you. Take care.